In the context of the many challenges we have in South Africa, especially the economy and the incredibly low economic growth, given the challenges of this country, I thought I should give you a different opinion of why it's still crucial to invest in the economy, especially from a pension fund perspective. I speak as a fiduciary on pension funds and as an asset allocator. I hear a narrative right now, and legitimate narrative. I was recently listening to one economist who was saying right now it's better to take all of your money offshore and use up all of your allocation offshore. The South African environment, as I pointed out, the economic growth rate that is predicted for 2024 is about 1%. We're expecting that for the next 3 years. We have high unemployment rate, it's ticked up a little bit to 32%. And we have a lot of socio-economic challenges. We have high crime, also high youth unemployment, and a myriad of other challenges. We, if people don't know, we control assets, pension fund assets in South Africa are around about 4.6 trillion. Now that's a huge amount of money. A significant portion that can be allocated into the real economy can make a huge difference and make a dent in some of the challenges that we're facing. So why am I advocating for this? If you're invested in the JSE, 60% of what you're invested in is outside of South Africa. So already quite a significant part of what we invest in is already offshore. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think we all know as pension funds, Regulation 28 has changed recently to allow us to invest a further 45% offshore. For years, I've heard how corporates are concerned about the economy, and so they're sitting on cash on their balance sheet. I'm coming from a point of view that we also need to be part of the solution. Everybody talks about what government is doing wrong. We know that. We know that there are challenges around Eskom, Transnet, and rail, and the movement of goods and services. Recently, I just had a presentation from one of the analysts who was saying that if you resolve those two things, GDP growth can come up by another 2%, and that's significant in the South African context. But we can do more. In South Africa, I am concerned about how we are investing. So we represent millions. The data is around about 17 million South Africans that belong to pension funds. So we represent a significant part of the population. Our primary objective in this pension fund is to make sure when people retire, they retire with good benefits. For a couple of years now, our members have been telling us what good retirement means for them. One, you've safeguarded their money so it's not stolen. You grow their money in such a way that it beats inflation so they can have a healthy retirement. They want to retire in an environment that has jobs for their children, because if their children don't have jobs, what happens? They have to carry the children. So in this context, I am saying it's important to be a partner in resolving the challenges and investing in the real economy. And I'm not talking about kumbaya. When I speak about investing in the real economy, people will say to me, oh, you want us to do government's job, you want us to give away money. The reason I say this is because we need to get money into the real economy, because if we do, we create jobs. We allow people or create a broader base of the economy that has money to spend. They buy services from organizations and companies, and there's economic growth. So we're fueling consumption in order to have economic growth. I'm simply saying this, that we need to do all we can to save ourselves. No one else is gonna save ourselves. And South Africa, unlike in many other countries on this continent, has one of the highest GDP to pension fund assets. We have the resources to do something. It's a different thing if people don't see their future in South Africa. I can respect that. But I think as fiduciaries on funds, we need to understand that we are custodians of other people's money. We have a responsibility. Most of those workers, members, see their future and their children's future in South Africa. So let's find ways of unlocking the economy. There are a lot of good projects. There are a lot of SMEs that have grown and they're strong and robust, and even within the tough economic environment, they're still doing extremely well. And all they need is an injection of capital to move to the next stage. I was just recently reading on Citywire of the Municipal Workers Pension Fund. They have just indicated that by the end of last year, they'd increased alternative portfolio by 171%. And they're saying they're doing it, one, because they understand their responsibility to members. But secondly, it's been such a good diversified what they hold, and it's been one of their best performing portfolio on an annualized basis for the past 5 years. So there are good opportunities in the market that can help us achieve returns. And in any portfolio, is true, you want a portfolio that's well diversified so that it's not impacted in the same way when markets move. Offshore markets are doing better than us right now, and that's a fact. I was looking at the comparison between the JSE All Share and the MSCI All Countries Index, and offshore markets is performing way better than us on a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year basis. And I can understand why you would want to allocate, and it's a good thing from a diversification point of view if you wanted to tilt your portfolio a little bit offshore. But don't forget, this is a long-term game, and asset classes change. There's often a change on where asset classes are and how they perform in time. So from a diversification point of view, the two areas that I think can make a difference to your portfolio, yes, is offshore investing, but it's also investing in alternatives. We should not allow ourselves the fear of saying we don't understand. Otherwise, I think we are perpetuating a condition. If the economy doesn't have sufficient inflows to make a difference, if South African money doesn't come in to invest, it's more difficult to attract external investors to invest. I also really want to talk about the narratives that we tell ourselves about this economy. Does South Africa have problems? Yeah, it does have problems. Is it the worst country in the world? No, it's not the worst country in the world. We need to be careful because there is a difference between acknowledging challenges and being negative. And we know this because at a macro level, if I'm hiring people, I would never hire somebody who's negative because I know they're not going to help me build or come up with a solution. There's a lot of positive things that we can build on. There is also quite a good base of the middle class. Recently, I was on holiday with my mother, and we were on the MSCI ship from Durban to Mozambique. And I was shocked at how many people who previously wouldn't have an opportunity to have the disposable income to buy these sort of holidays. There were so many of those. In fact, it was predominantly people of color who were in the ship. It excited me. It said to me, it's not everything that's going wrong. We know that there are challenges within government, but partnerships also help, and there have been partnerships that have been successful. The partnerships, the PPPs that build the infrastructure, the N1, the N4 toll roads, some of the major infrastructure, it was a partnership between the public sector and the private sector that build those toll roads. And it's been very lucrative for the private sector to partner with government on that. The renewable energy initiative that has taken place where we're having independent power producers that are contracted to sell to Eskom. So for me, I think it's wrong to be, especially when you're in this investment space, when you control billions, for us to come across as we are just not partners, we are not part of the solution, we're just sitting back and waiting to see what government does. It cannot be. We have a responsibility to unlock the economy, just like government has a responsibility to do that bit, in the interest of the members that we represent. I just want to come to something and point something out for the fiduciaries that I'm talking about, like myself. A lot of the companies that are making profits because we are investing members' money into those organizations, whether it's on the JSE or directly. It's members' monies that are being investors that are helping them make profits. My question is, what sort of conversations are we having with those entities? It's because we have the power to drive behavior. We have the power to direct how monies are being invested. And so I think it's also part of an ESG conversation we should be having with these companies that we invest in is, when we invest in your organization, what are you doing in terms of investing in South Africa? Because what I'm concerned about is the narrative that because government is doing something wrong, then everybody's hiding behind government is doing something wrong. Not all issues are around government. So what we need to make sure is make sure that people with the power, the people with the ability that we've facilitated and enabled are also doing that part in terms of unlocking the economy. So it's an ESG conversation. We should be proper activists in asking the people that we are empowering by giving them so much money, how are you unlocking the South African economy? What are you doing to invest in the country? If there are issues around Eskom, if there are issues around rail, at least you've identified that. Let's not make it a blanket statement. As the saying goes, the devil is in the details. I think at this point, for me, there are those two elements that I wanted to say is, one, that we need to allocate more in the South African economy to invest as pension funds. I'm happy to see that there's a change. The last data I saw is at least we're investing 8% in the real economy. But if you look at the European markets, if you look at the American markets, the last data I saw is American pension funds are investing 24%, Europeans 18%. And given that we also invest in the JSE and a lot of that money is offshore, I think we can do a lot more in terms of investing in the country. And we should be moving closer to the targets that offshore markets are moving in. There's an investable universe for all people, for different risk profiles. If you are risk averse, there are fixed income funds that are highly liquid, and there's a huge track record, but the opportunity set is there for us to broaden the economy in our interests, members' interests, and the future of those children who I keep talking about. So lastly, this is what I want from me. It really is a call to action and to say that we really do need to think about our individual responsibility to this economy. I think it's easy to look at government and their failings are obvious to all of us. But I think it's about time we ask ourselves, what role are we playing? I'd like to leave an example that really excited me and gave me hope. That I met a young guy at one of the asset managers conference. Sia Kluza, I think his name is he runs a company called Galactic Holdings. Many years ago, I saw a news clip on him. He went into his mother's kitchen and developed, is it jet fuel or something? And on the basis of that smartness, he got a scholarship to go to Harvard. And he actually now even has a minor planet named after him. He says he was given an opportunity to develop or set up a business in Silicon Valley, but he decided to come home. That gives me hope. People who say, I'm coming to make a difference, that gives me hope. It's an orientation that we should all have. And secondly, aside from his work in the AI space, so he does a lot of work in the AI space and he's doing incredibly well, but he's decided to partner with government to try and resolve some of the issues that municipalities are having. There's a major municipality that was so bankrupt, it was in the red, and he's done work in that municipality. And he's turned around performance for that municipality. And I mean, it gave me hope because it says it's somebody who comes in with a mindset of solutions rather than just simply pointing at challenges. And I honestly think there is such a strong base in South Africa for us to make a difference. It doesn't absolve government of what they need to do, and we must keep pushing and putting pressure on government to do what they need to do. But for me, I just really thought I should have this call to action, because a lot of the time, all I hear is complaints. What is our responsibility? What are corporate giants' responsibility? And are we doing all that we can? Thank you so much for listening to my perspective on investment by pension funds. I am interested to hear what people think about it. If you have a different point of view, I'm interested to hear that. And if you agree with me, I'm interested to hear that. I'm also open to debate. So looking forward to prolonging these conversations.